Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so we're going to start big and get small. So I'm just going to do big ones. So kidney, right? Ureter, bladder, urethra. So if we go to our kidney, so I know that the outside is the capsule, which is the brown part. The cortex is the outer, lighter edge layer region. And the medulla is basically in the middle, where the pyramids and everything live. And in the very, very middle would be the sinus or pelvis, which is where the urine collects. So if I take this and make it bigger for your photographic pleasure. Oh, yeah. All right, so again, I have my capsule, renal capsule, cortex, medulla. In my medulla, I have the renal pyramids, which are the triangles. And they have a papilla, which is the tip, basically. Between the pyramids are the columns. So column, pyramid, column, pyramid, column, pyramid, column, pyramid. And then, as I go downwards, in my sinus or pelvis area, I have the minor calyx, or calyces, which are the little forks that would collect the fluid, here and here. They become bigger, which would be majors, right about here. And the majors, like in baseball, you know, all meet together. So your minors to majors to the pelvis or sinus, out the ureter. Then I'm going to do my blood flow. So, if I start on number 2 here, which is the renal artery, if I go in, the segmental is the first one that comes off. And then I'm going to turn and go up between the pyramids or in the columns. That's called interlobar, because these are considered lobes. I'm going to turn and become arcuate. And I'm going to go out further, which is the cortical radiant, also called the interlobular is another word for them. And then I'm going to turn around when I do my stuff and do veins. So cortical radiate vein, arcuate vein, interlobar vein, but there's no segmental. I just go directly into my renal vein. On this model, I would do the same thing. Renal, segmental, interlobar, arcuate, cortical radiate artery, cortical radiate vein, arcuate vein, interlobar vein, renal vein. All right. Then, if I take one of these and put it here, so this would be my pyramid with capsule, cortex, and medulla. Again, I have my interlobar, arcuate, cortical radiant. Then I would have an afferent, which is the one going from the cortical radiant into my corpuscles, which are these circles. Then my efferent are the ones coming out of my corpuscles, going away. So here I'd have my cortical radiant artery, my afferent arterial, efferent arterial, my peritubular capillaries, then to my cortical radiant vein and out. The veins down here are called the vasa rectas. Those would go over these ones. And then I have the white things, which are the corpuscles. I'm going to follow the fluid. I'm going to start at my glomerulus. Then I go my PCT, or proximal convoluted tubule. Then descend, loop of Henle, ascend, loop of Henle, or nephron loop, distal convoluted tubule. Then I'm going to collect in the collecting duct, out the papilla. This one would be the same over here. And then that becomes this. So one corpuscle is this. So in my corpuscle, I'm going to have the glomerulus, which is this part, and the Bowman's capsule, which is the outer part. So I put that in there. I have my afferent, which has the muscles on it, coming in through the juxtaglomerular cells here into my glomerulus, which is covered with podocytes, which are the visceral layer. Then I have my lumen, and then I have my parietal layer of my Bowman's capsule. The fluid would then go down the PCT, which would be this, go all the way around, and then come back out my DCT, which is here, which has the macula densa cells, and then head out. So afferent, efferent, juxtaglomerular cells, macula densa cells, apparatus is both, podocytes on the visceral layer, Bowman's capsule on the parietal layer, with the lumen in between. Make sense?
Those podocytes are on that as well as on the right.
They would be. They just removed them to show you capillaries in the fenestrae.
So it's going out and back in before it goes into the collecting?
It goes by it. So it leaves the blood here. And then remember that the kidney has to check not only the pressure of the blood going in, but the saltiness of the blood of the urine coming out. So this is where, in lecture, this is my GFR controller for the pressure. This is my GFR controller for the saltiness. So it has to check the fluid before it hits the urine, before it actually leaves the nephron. So between these, your kidney can control the GFR by knowing what's coming in and what's going out.
So where does the filtration
Filtration would be from here, blood to nephron.
Okay, and then the reabsorption,
Those would be in the tubes down in here, which I haven't
Okay.
gone over in lecture yet.
and then the secretion
It would also
obviously
be
is
in
right
those
there.
tubes, yeah.
So is there a mechanism when the osmolarity is tested here for
Mhm.
it to, instead of cycling back out into the collecting tube, for it to go back through another cycle?
Nope.
Is that something that would happen, or is
Nope.
it just sampling and
It's just
acting
sampling and then
accordingly?
adjusting the next round.
Okay.
So you're constantly leaving that stuff leaving, and what you're doing is the stuff that's leaving, you're trying to adjust what's coming in.
Okay.
So there's a delay. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd basically be sending your own urine back
Yeah, you'd
through,
just be
which
going in
wouldn't
the
be doing you very much good. And then, if we head on out, and we'll finish up our picture. Oh, one more thing on this one I forgot. And that is, this is called a cortical nephron because it's mostly in the cortex. This big long one is juxtamedullary nephron because it's longer down the medulla, not to be confused with juxtaglomerular, which is over here. Then we're going to go down to our bladder. So if I leave there, go down my bladder, through my ureters, through the uretic orifices, into my trigon or trigony, which is the triangle. Then I go down my urethra orifice in my urethra. The bladder would have the detrusor muscle, which is the main one you see. If I'm a male, which I am, I have my prostatic urethra, membranous urethra at the corner, and my penile or spongy urethra. The urogenital diaphragm is right there. In a female, there's just one tube, so it's urethra. And this one doesn't really show very good urogenital diaphragm, which is right about there. And then worthless trivia. The internal urinary sphincter is always at the neck of the bladder, here. The external is your urogenital diaphragm. So males, your external would be there. Females, your external would be roughly there. And that's involuntary, involuntary. I'm sorry. Yeah, involuntary, involuntary. Yeah.
Is that
So ureter, this one just basically goes through, again, the bladder end of town. So ureter's coming in there, uretic orifice. This would be part of the trigony or trigone. Urethra orifice through the prostate. You can't really see the curved spongy urethra. So just, it's another way of looking at that picture. Nothing necessarily different.